This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining this morning. We have a really exciting presentation from the SIUE Small Business Development Center. And we have Joanne May and Marty Weiland. And we really look forward to their presentation. They're going to talk about getting ready to apply for a grant, which is a complicated process. So we can't wait to hear that presentation. And I wanted to let everybody know that this is going to be recorded. And then what we're going to do with this presentation is then it will be listed on the Leadership Council website and also on the SBDC website. So just wanted to let you all know that your presentation today and participation will be listed on both. So without further, I think we're going to turn it over to Marty first and let you get started with your presentation. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Marty Weiland. I am the Small Business Specialist at the Illinois Small Business Development Center for the Metro East at SIU Edwardsville. I specialize with the startup businesses. My colleague Joanne works with the more established businesses. Sometimes we trade back and forth depending on the need of the client. And we're here to provide no cost, no fee services for businesses throughout our 9-county area of responsibility. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. Joanne is going to take the question and answer session. And if somebody will watch the chat and let me know if I need to answer a question as we go along, please let me know. All right, so getting ready to apply for a grant. It doesn't sound like it would be a lot of prep work, but as we found out last year with one of the grants that came through from the state with a very short turnaround, it can be a very lengthy and complex problem, especially if the systems that you have to go through are overwhelmed by people coming in to register. So we recommend that if you think you're going to be applying for a grant in the future, especially with the state of Illinois, that you go through these steps in advance, and then you'll be ready when those opportunities present themselves. So this is also known as Understanding the Grant Accountability and Transparency Act, GATA, pre-award process. There are requirements in this process to work with the Grant Accountability and Transparency Act. It provides uniform guidance for the state of Illinois grant programs. State agencies are required to manage grant programs in accordance with GATA and uniform federal guidance, and all applicants and grantees must comply with GATA grant requirements in the state of Illinois. GATA requires applicant organizations to complete these following steps. They have to pre-qualify through the portal. They have to complete 2 risk assessments, a fiscal and administrative risk assessment and a programmatic risk assessment. But those are done at different stages in the process. The requirements must be registered as an entity before they can submit a grant application, and the 2 risk assessments can be completed at any time before the issuance of the state award. So those are going to be more specific to the grant offering and can be completed and submitted at the time that you're applying for that grant or before they issue the actual award. So the pre-qualification stage is user authentication, grantee registration on the GATA portal, and verification of the pre-qualification status. Then prior to the issuance of the award or the money, you do a fiscal and administrative risk assessment and a programmatic risk assessment. Here are the pre-qualification requirements. The GATA requires that an entity or a business have a valid federal employer ID number, have a valid DUNS number, have a current SAM.gov account, which is required if you're looking at federal opportunities, and that you are not on the federal excluded parties list. You have to be in good standing with the Secretary of State for Illinois. You cannot be on the Illinois Stop Payment list, and you cannot be on the Department of Health Care and Family Services Provider Sanction list. So These requirements are verified and maintained on the GATA grantee portal, and this is the link for that portal. So the pre-qualification process, here are the steps, and we're going to talk about these. When it says free, it means free. I see a lot of businesses and a lot of individuals getting caught up in they have to pay for all of these steps. That is not true. To get a federal employer identification number, that's the first step, that's free. Then you're going to register your business with the Secretary of State. There is a cost for that depending on your entity type. Then you're going to register with the Illinois Department of Revenue, free. And you'll get a DUNS number, that's free. Then you'll register with SAM.gov, with the System Award Management System, which is federal, that's also free. And then registering with the GATA system itself is free. These steps are completed once and then maintained throughout the portal. So step 1, to obtain a federal employer ID number. It's used by the federal government to identify a business entity. You go to the IRS website at this big long link. You can actually go to irs.gov and follow the buttons on the screen on how to apply for an EIN, and you follow the instructions. It will ask you for your preferred method of getting the letter. If you say electronically, it will pop the letter up on the screen and you'll have it to keep, so you can save it and you can print it. You can also ask them to mail it to you. Again, getting an FEIN is free. Remember, it's free. Sorry, I'm going to be obnoxious about that. Then you're going to register your business with the state of Illinois. You can be registered as any of these business entity types: a sole proprietorship, a general or limited partnership, a limited liability partnership, limited liability company, an S corporation, or a C corporation. There is a fee for an LLC, an LLP, an S corp, or a C corp. But as a sole proprietorship, you don't actually register that with the Secretary of State. You only go through the Department of Revenue, and I believe the limited and general partnership, that's true also. So for more information on getting your business registered, I'm sorry, I just had a pop-up. Let me make it go away. To get your business registered, you can follow the step-by-step guide available at this link. You can go through the link here, or you can call us at our office, 618-650-2929, and we can help you go through those steps. So for a sole prop or a general partnership, if the business name is different from the owner's full legal name, the Illinois Assumed Act requires sole proprietorships and general partnerships to register as an assumed name at the local county clerk's office, and it must be published in the newspaper once a week for 3 weeks. And there is a fee for that, and normally the county clerk's office has a fee for registration also. You can go to the DCEO's website or Google your county clerk's office and contact them. Or you can contact our office at this phone number and we can help you locate the appropriate county clerk. Also then, to register your business, if it's an LLC or a corporation, you can go through the Secretary of State's website at cyberdriveillinois.com and go through the steps there. You can register most of these electronically. There is a fee, and it depends on the entity type, and they're also charging a small convenience fee for using your credit card online. There will be a cost for this, and it depends on your entity's designation. Then you're going to register with the Department of Revenue. Any entity conducting business in Illinois or has Illinois customers must register their business with the Illinois Department of Revenue. You can do it at this address. You will set up an account with the Department of Revenue, They will give you an electronic mailbox there, so any correspondence that they send you is also available there, and it is free to register with the Department of Revenue. Just for those who are doing any kind of retail transactions, this also is where you answer all the questions to get your sales and use tax number. But this is a free registration with the Department of Revenue. Then the next step is to obtain a DUNS number. This is the number that's used for official tracking of all government contractors. You go to this web address, this link, to apply for your DUNS number, and it can take a business day to get your DUNS number. Many of these steps take a few days to process. For instance, registering your business with the Secretary of State can take anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks, if not more, depending on what's happening in the world, as we found this summer. So there's a time lag in these things. So don't try to do them all in one day, because that won't be happening. Again, it's free to get a DUNS number. Did I mention it was free? Then you're going to go online and you're going to register with sam.gov. You're going to need all of the registration numbers and all the data about all of those other registrations you did when you come to this step. You need a valid DUNS number, a taxpayer identification number or federal employee ID number. You need your banking information, including your routing number and bank account, so they can pay you. If you're going to do this, you really want them to give you the money. And you need a valid email address and access to a mobile phone, because they do they will send you a security code, so you have two-step authentication for your account. To verify that you have an existing sam.gov account, you're going to check at this link to see if it's already there. And if it's not, you can register for the sam.gov account. And again, it's free to register with sam.gov. Don't think you have to pay somebody to do it. So here's the landing page for sam.gov. It has some instruction on it. It will let you create a new user account. You can register your entity, and you can search records. So the first thing you're going to do is either log in or tell it that you want to start a new account. You'll complete the steps to create a sam.gov account. You'll log in or click on create a new account. If you can see it circled here in red. Or you'll log in with your username and password. To create an account, you're going to get this. No, if you've created a sam.gov account, you will log in and register your entity. So on the left-hand column here, it says register new entity. When you go through these steps, it's going to give you information on the first page, and you'll click Start Registration. You will always get a status page that will tell you where you are in the process and whether you need to complete more information. And here's the 800 number for the service line for sam.gov if you have a problem, or you can use the live chat option at this secure address at fsd.gov. One of the last steps is that you must send a notarized letter. They're still roaring into the 20th century. You use one of the templates that they have at fsd.gov. You're going to print it on your entity's letterhead, and then you have to mail the document to the Federal Service Desk. There's no way to fax it. You can't email it. You have to actually snail mail it to this address. After completing all of those steps, you're ready to register in the GATA portal to verify your qualification status. So you're going to go to grants.https://grants.illinois.gov/portal. Don't put that period at the end. Ooh, I'm so sorry. I didn't really mean to go to that link. but this is what the link looks like. So you're going to go to this link, ignore this trailing period. Then you're going to complete the following steps: authentication, grantee registration, and verification of pre-qualification status. For authentication, this verifies the relationship between the individual and the organization they represent, and it's performed once for each individual associated with the registration. You must have a personal or business email address to establish an account on the grantee portal. To obtain an account, click Create Account button, and there is also a Can't Access Your Account link below the Sign In button if you have problems. So for the next 3 slides, here's what the portal looks like. As you saw when I went there earlier, you'll click on Create Account, or Account Help if you need that, or Sign In if you already have an account. You'll fill in all of this information, including putting in your email address twice. Please, please, please write your password down. There's nobody there who can give it to you later. You'll have to reset it. But here's the information. You will get an email from Identity Management at illinois.gov to the address you entered to create your account, and you will need to verify your account and click the link in the message. And it looks like this. So the grantee registration is completed by browsing to the grants.illinois.gov/portal and signing in with your new Illinois public account. You'll be requested to enter your DUNS number and associate your illinois.gov account with your organization. You're going to have to, if you're a new account, you must enter the organization's information on the registration screen. And for existing accounts, you must click Edit next to the organization name on the main menu. And here's what this page looks like. You'll sign in here. It will ask you to verify that you are the official person who's authorized by the state to conduct official state business, and you'll have to hit accept before it will let you go any further. Then it's going to show us, it'll show where this blue line is. It will show your company name, your entity name, and then you're going to have to put in the DUNS number to associate the DUNS number to your entity name. Then you're going to put in all of this information, your DUNS, your FEIN, your organization type, your Illinois Secretary of State file ID. In this case, it's numbers only. Your organization name and address, primary email, and then it's going to want the ending month of your fiscal year, and it will check these to make sure that that's correct with what you've told them in the past. Then you're going to hit the save button when you have this all filled out, because you can't go any further until you save it. After registration, the GATA website will electronically verify the pre-qualification requirements, and then nightly thereafter. Initial verification may take 1 to 3 days. So as I said, all of this is going to take some time. When you register with the IRS for your FEIN, you get that back immediately. When you register with the Secretary of State, that can take 1 to 3 weeks. You have to have those 2 pieces of information to register with the Department of Revenue. That usually can take a while before it comes back, maybe a week or 2. I don't know that I've really timed it. Then you need to go to the county. That's another day or 2. Then you're going to file for your DUNS number. That takes a day. So time is adding up. So don't put this off until you think you want to apply for something. Do this ahead of time and get it out of the way. Pre-qualification issues and remediation support will be provided through the grantee portal. It will give you a status chart here to tell you where you are, and if there's a problem, you can hit the help button to find out. It'll tell you if there's any action that needs to be required or that needs to be addressed. Then, once you've identified the opportunity that you want to apply for, you will have to do programmatic and fiscal and administrative risk assessments. They can be completed before, during, or after the application process. The fiscal and administrative ICQ is available on the GATA grantee portal and after successful registration and pre-qualification. The programmatic risk assessment will be made available by the state after or during or after the application period. So you can't do the programmatic risk assessment until you've applied for the opportunity. So you've got to love acronyms. The ICQ is an internal controls questionnaire. This is the page that will come up for the fiscal and administrative risk assessment. They're going to ask a lot of questions. You'll see that on the next. You do this once a year. You'll have to update this once a year. And all state agencies will utilize the results of this ICQ. So this is the page that comes up. This ICQ has 10 sections, and each of those sections has a number of questions. So section 02, quality of management system, has 7 questions, and it will tell you if you've answered them all. They go through budgetary controls, cost principles, organizational governance, all of these things, you can see them. And you'll be able to tell when you're finished, because when you're finished, and that's on the next screen, the submit button will go from gray to red. And it will let you submit, as you see on this page. And this page, again, it shows how many questions, how many were answered, everything's complete. So the submit button gets a red ring around it so that you can press it. And it will take you to the names where you can enter the names of the CEO, CFO, and the person completing the assessment, and click verify, certify, and submit when that part is finished, when that part's complete. For the programmatic risk assessment, they want to know that you will have applied for a grant-specific, they will want a grant-specific programmatic risk assessment. Can your organization actually do what you say you're going to do with their money? They will inform you of the timing of the programmatic risk assessment and administer the risk assessment. DCEO will request one to be completed after you've submitted your grant application, and DCEO has determined to move forward with your grant application. If you have questions concerning the GATA process, you can contact your cognizant state agency. That information's in the GATA portal, your grant manager, or you can email ceo.gata@illinois.gov. And there will be an Understanding the GATA Pre-Award Process grantee guide for additional instructions. The Business Resource Center, First Stop Business Information Center, is available to you. There is a link here for the email. The phone numbers are here. It's available in Spanish. They have a business startup kit. They will route you back to us if you're starting a business or you know someone who's starting a business, or you can contact your local Small Business Development Center. That's us at 618-650-2929. If you're looking for Illinois funding opportunities, this is the link you can go to see what opportunities are available. And there are new opportunities coming up every day. And then DCEO has and will continue to issue funding opportunities for Illinois entities. To stay informed, they have a Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter page. And here's the information for our office, and we're available to you anytime. Just give us a call. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Are there questions?
So I have a question on those assessment questions. Is there a tutorial or any kind of guidance that we can, look at before you, move through those questions? Because having done that a few times, there was several questions on there that were, I wouldn't say confusing, but what I wouldn't say clear either. that if we had more guidance, we would have understood them a little better going through it the first time.
I'm not aware of a tutorial. I know that you can save it and come back to it. You don't have to do it all at once. And certainly their phone number or live chat would be available to get additional assistance. Joanne, do you have anything to add to that?
I would say you're exactly right. Reaching out to DCEO or the cognizant agency. But I would also just encourage you to think about the project that you're applying for and just relate those questions, you know, as much as possible to the exact grant opportunity so that you're answering those questions as completely as possible. But we can certainly talk to DCEO or anyone else.
Mm-hmm. What happens, so say for instance, you go through the assessment process and you don't do as well. What can they put then restrictions on your process? Because it would seem like if you, having gone through the questions, if you did not answer maybe appropriately, that would send up red flags. So do you know anything about that?
Well, I think just in experience with our grant, they usually allow us to clarify if something is not specific enough or detailed enough to what they're looking for. They might ask you, what did you mean by that? Or, you know, could you give us this other additional information? So they usually give you an opportunity to fix any errors for the most part.
So GATA is extremely important. You really can't file for any grant in the state of Illinois unless you have your GATA complete. And so, you know, for people who are interested in grants, that is a key, you know, lesson learned, that you really have to have this whole process done, ready to go. And there's other steps along the way. I didn't see anything about the 147C form that has to be filed as part of the grant and other things. Is that something that you guys go over or not?
I would think that that form might be specific to certain entities, or maybe it's a nonprofit type form. I'm not aware of what that form is exactly, so I'd have to take a look. But we can certainly, you know, do our best to answer questions or get a hold of the granting agency for clarification.
So just having gone through a few grants with the state of Illinois, you know, there has to be your organization filed with the comptroller, with the Internal Revenue Service. So there's, in addition to GATA, there's a lot of other things you have to do. And, you know, without, you know, knowing that in advance for the grant, it just gets you scrambling at the end for sure to make sure you have everything filed the way it should be. And I can see how some organizations, if you're trying to get this done and get your grant information in, and then suddenly you come up against this, that can just really blow you right out of the water, you know, because you probably missed the deadline or you don't have the information and you have to research and lots of other things. So I guess would your advice be, you know, get your data information and everything with the comptroller and the state of Illinois for the IRS in line before you apply, would be my guess. Would that be true?
Yes, I would make sure that you're current and keep all that filing active. So with the FEIN, with your state, with the DUNS, the SAMs, making sure that everything is current and updated and always active so that when these opportunities come up, because as Marty mentioned earlier, a lot of times they don't give you much time to apply. You may have 2 weeks, if you're lucky, to get in an application. So having all your financial data very organized, you know, using QuickBooks and other systems, and just making sure that all your filings are current can really speed up that process.
Good advice. We recently were working on a broadband grant, and we basically had 4 days. So we worked night and day for 4 days, and we were tracking down people like Alonzo Bird to sign our document at a moment's notice to get that in so that we could make the deadline. And so if you're not, really on top of all that, you can miss one of those steps and it just throws you out of the process. And so just encourage everybody to make sure that, all your documents and filings are in order. It's incredibly important when you're looking at grant opportunities, for sure. Anybody else have a question? Alonzo, Sue, Mark, anybody?
Rhonda, I think Joanne has several in the queue. Joanne, did you want to go over those?
Sure, let me get back to those. How long, start to finish, does it typically take to set up all the accounts needed? So I'm assuming you're talking about the DUNS, SAMs, and all those steps. So, your FEIN number literally takes minutes. The filing with the state, I would say probably no more than an hour or so to get through your articles of organization, things like that. Your DUNS could take a few hours. I would say, for the whole process, maybe a couple days, 3 days, maybe at the most, to go through the steps. Would you agree, Marty?
It depends on whether you're talking about filling out the paperwork or waiting for the filed paperwork to come back. Because yes, it doesn't take a lot of your personal time to fill out those individual forms with all the different levels, but there's processing time involved after you're finished. So as I said, the FEIN is immediate. The Secretary of State may take anywhere from a day to several weeks. The Department of Revenue usually comes back within a couple of weeks. And then there's, personal time to go file with the county for things, or your municipality as the business. So those things, I would set aside a couple of weeks for that, just for the processing time, because when you do the Department of Revenue filing with the Illinois Department of Revenue, you have to have your registration number from the Secretary of State and your FEIN, both.
Sure. So yeah, with processing, you're probably looking at maybe 10 to 14 days.
Yes. One of the problems that comes up is, we all love our computers some days. And one of the problems that came up last year with one of the grants that came up was there was a 6-week lead time, but when everybody hit the SAM.gov account, it crashed and it was down for most of a week. So, you can get stuck in limbo just because somebody else's computer is not working properly. So, just make time for those things. That's why we do this workshop or this seminar, so that people can do this ahead of time and have it ready.
Thank you. Next question. If a grant comes up, are there ways to apply with a fee quicker than the normal time period to wait? So if you're talking about the paperwork involved, most of the time there's not going to be a way to really speed up the process. I know the Secretary of State really eliminated that expedited fee because really the process is quicker than it used to be. I've seen people get their Secretary of State LLC number, for example, within 48 hours. So most of the time you just have to kind of wait it out. You could let them know that you're on a deadline, but they're probably not going to work much faster, just, for that reason. Next question, the risk assessments for the ICQ. If someone has questions regarding the questions, they ask, is there someone that can assist? So I think this was basically Rhonda's question earlier. I think we can certainly do our best to help, but we can always get a hold of the granting agency, cognizant agency, DCEO, whoever that might be, for additional questions. We can certainly see if there are any tutorials on their assessments, on those assessment questions. Most of those are pretty standard, but I think just, focusing on the specific grant opportunity and the work that's going to be done would be helpful. But we'll see if we can find some tutorials or some samples. Do you have resources to help people know how to write the grants or how budgets are, etc.? we really don't have anything in place that shows how to write the grants. I think it's really not as helpful most of the time because each grant is different and very specific. Honestly, what I suggest and encourage people to do is really, you know, put that business plan together. And a lot of that information from the business plan, if you keep it updated and current, is going to, you know, really flow right into your grant narrative and those financials. So I think templates and samples make it less your own, to be honest, and makes it easy to just kind of copy and not utilize your own thoughts and business perspective. Are there any other questions? I think that's all of them in the queue.
Joanne, I also see a question that says, with the notarized letter, is there a way we know they received it once it has been sent?
Oh, I went right past that one. Is there a way to know they received it? I believe that's just in the GATA portal. You'll get that check mark once everything is finalized. So you just have to go back to that link and make sure that you have that green check mark on that step. You might be able to reach out to DCEO or whoever it might be, but I think the easiest thing is just to keep an eye on your GATA steps to make sure that the green light occurs. Probably have to give it a little time, like Marty said. I would think that's probably going to take maybe longer than some of the other processes, so probably a couple weeks there.
You know, this is Rhonda. One thing I would add with the GATA portal, you know, definitely keeping an eye on that and continuing to check it is incredibly important, because you may have had a green light and now suddenly there's a check mark there that, hey, you need to pay attention to this and get it in like today. And so that's something that we've encountered, and it definitely puts you on the edge until you're good. But you know, you have to check it pretty frequently, and that's something that needs to be on your calendar, and go out there and look and make sure, are we still good? You know, are we good today? Are we good tomorrow? If you're going to apply for grants, or if you're under a grant, it's going to really throw off the payment structure if you are under a grant and suddenly now you have an area that either needs attention or whatever, and then that can throw up the payment for the grant to pay you. So it's not a one and done. You really have to be on it all the time, as Joanne and Marty have talked about.
Definitely, great point. And especially if you're in a grant process, once you've been awarded, there's a lot of information that will come to you through that portal and links. And it looks like there was another question. Once you have everything set up, where's the best place to find grants to apply for? Well, again, I think it's specific to your type of business, but I would say the Department of Commerce's page is a great place to look. SBA.gov is another great place to look for grant opportunities. You know, let's say, for example, you're a recycling business. EPA for the state and federal government would be a great place to look. If you're in, you know, health services, maybe the Department of Aging, Department of Health and Human Services. So specific to your type of industry is where I would really look. If you're a veteran, for example, you can certainly do some research through the VA and other places to see what might be out there specific for veterans, for minorities, etc. But I think Department of Commerce, SBA, and then those specific federal and state agencies will keep you up to date. If you are working with our procurement office, Teresa Ebler and others in our PTAC department can set you up with bid matching. So you will put those keywords in with her help and receive emails specific to your business. So whether it's you know, commercial cleaning, whether it's a daycare, you can receive those specific opportunities directly to your inbox.
You know, one thing I would add, Joanne, is working with the CARES Act and so many things coming down through the state. And so I sent out a lot of information to communities about programs. And so following up with those mayors, a lot of mayors of underserved communities said, well, we're not going to apply for this, even though they really should have. And they probably would have gotten the money, because they said, well, we don't have our GATA, we don't have, you know, all the things in line. And, you know, that's been a too complicated process. So we're not even going to apply for these grants. And I thought, wow, how unfortunate for them, because they would have, I would think, certainly have received the money. But those communities are struggling, as we had to go through the same process. So I completely get it, of trying to keep this, not only get it all straight, make sure you're all filed, make sure it's consistently updated. And it's not easy. I mean, this is something you have to be really on. And so I think even some communities that I thought, well, you know, they're an on top of it community, told me the same thing. You know, we're not gonna apply, because this is just, you know, we don't have this in line.
Yeah, if you don't have the manpower and the time, it can be a struggle for sure. We have CARES Act funds, and we're implementing some additional support services. I wish it was more long-term, but we're definitely helping a lot of small businesses. So yes, it is really unfortunate if certain communities can't take advantage of these funds, especially since they're already underserved as it is.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Great. Any other questions for the team today? We've had a lot of good things to talk about. You know, this is a very complicated process. It should, you know, it seems like it's easy, but when you actually have to do it, it's really not that easy, as I and my team know really well. And, you know, yeah.
Right. Let me just say, first of all, I want to thank Marty and Teresa for this information. Certainly as Teresa knows, my wife Sharon and has pretty much followed the line in terms of getting our business registered. But I think we're actually a Missouri registered business, and she tells me that the foreign part of it covers us on the Illinois side as well. But the GATA part, I don't think that we've really been engaged with. And here she is. She's going to talk to me while I'm trying to talk. But so that's why I try to stay in the background, and she does all the talking. But for right now, I'm just trying to I'm asking some stupid questions here, because like in terms of these grants, you don't have to be a nonprofit. I mean, they are for businesses, LLCs as well, right? You don't have to be a nonprofit or anything of that sort. But I think there are some steps that we may need to go through to get to like the GATA thing. We have all the DUNs, the SAMs, and all that, thanks to Teresa and things that we've been doing, and the work that Sharon has put in. And for those who are wondering, it has taken a significant amount of time to get to where we are right now. And we obviously have a lot to do now. Now that I have been retired and trying to get into her existing business, and then to bring my portfolio of services into that, we've got to figure out how to do that. And Teresa has talked to us about that. So I'm not sure if I'm asking a question or if I'm just venting here. But one, I want to just say thanks for all the information that they've been providing. And it looks like we have a lot of work to do yet if we want to do on the other side of Illinois. And she's looking at me strange. So you want to get in here and say something? Okay. No, she doesn't. Teresa.
I would just add, and it's Joanne here. You worked with Teresa as well with our PTAC office. So it sounds like you have a lot of the steps taken care of, but you may want to make sure that you have your county and your city registration done for Illinois. And if you've already filed that foreign entity paperwork with the Secretary of State, then you should be fine there. You may want to double check and make sure you have your Department of Revenue taken care of with Illinois, and then your county and your city. Okay. And I'll say hi to Miss Sharon.
Hi, Joanne.
Hi there.
All right, do we have any other questions for the team today? Well, Joanne and Marty, you do a great job there, and we just can't thank you enough for what you do for the community. You know, lots of work to do here for sure with great funds out there and keeping people on track and straight. And you know, there's one part of it about getting the grant, there's one part of it about administering the grant, there's one part of it about successfully completing. That is all part of the process and filing your, you know, reports and paperwork and everything else. And so we thought we'd bring this information today to your attention, just to, you know, kind of inform you about what happens. And it was really particularly of interest to us, having gone through it very recently, and how interesting that process was for us. I would say it was 4 days of extreme intensity. But you know what? We actually, when we got the broadband results, we scored the highest broadband application in the state that filed for that. So we're really excited. Wasn't sure how we quite got there, but it was really great. And now we're, you know, on the fast track to getting all that done. So it's a very rewarding process, and I would encourage people to get your, you know, information all filed so that you can be in line for fantastic grants. I know as we move forward, Joanne, just for clarity's sake, for my sake, do you work with municipalities or no? Is that something different?
We don't really advise them necessarily, but we do collaborate with them. You know, they can refer businesses and things like that, but we don't really advise them on CARES Act or anything like that.
Okay, that's good to know. All right, anybody else have any questions? No? Okay, well, thank you, Joanne and Marty. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for your time today. We'll be posting this out there. We have had a tremendous amount of people review these afterwards, along with staff members on their teams of their companies. And so they get a very high view rate, and we're really excited about that. So please do feel free to have others listen in and watch them too, because we want to have a smart, informed community that can get these grants in here to Southwestern Illinois for the benefit of everybody. So thank you, Joanne and Marty. Everybody have a good rest of your day. Take care. We'll see you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.